Well, welcome everybody to our first webinar focusing on cybersecurity in relation to digital signage. Great that you all took the time in your busy lives to attend. I want to welcome Jochen and Wibren in particular for the specialists in this area, and it's great that they can share some real life experiences. Because Wibren Youngster was involved in the implementation of cybersecurity within the company and knows exactly from real life experience how important this is. Just for your information, we will have the presentation first, and after that you will have the opportunity to ask questions. You can do so by waving your hand, which you can, there is a button at the bottom of your screen. So if you want to ask a question, please make use of that possibility. And then in addition, you can also use the chat function if you want to ask something or have a remark. And we will try to attend to that after the presentation. So Jochen, I'm pleased to give the floor to you. And we can already see your screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. Thank you very much. Well, great to be here, by the way, in cyberspace. Yeah, you already said something about the webinar. It's being recorded. Always have those, you know, some of those you already told, right? So please ask your question by chat or wave your hand. There will be a question and answer afterwards, and I think it's good to know that it will be approximately 16 minutes, this whole presentation. And of course, Wibren is here as well. So sometimes Wibren will, I will ask Wibren some questions, and he will ask me some questions, or well, we see how it goes, right?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So, well, we'll start with you. Can you introduce yourself just a little bit for the people who don't know you?
Yeah, of course. I'm Wibren Youngster. I'm general manager at Screencon. I have a technical background, and basically I've contacted, I think it's already 1.5 years ago or a year ago, Jochen, because I know him from my early days at school. He was my teacher before. Well, basically we were in contact about the security and pen test reports, and especially for our Magic Info environment. So this is how we get in contact, and well, later on it evolved in more and also to the GSA.
Exactly. So yeah, this is me. My name is Jochen den Oude. Nowadays I'm not teaching anymore at high schools or at universities. I still do training, of course. I like to teach IT security to people. But most of my time is spent doing, well, penetration testing, hacking. That's basically what I do. Or in a more pretty word to say security testing. I think that's a more nice way to say what I'm doing. I'm not always hacking, but security testing is a nice way to say. Besides that, I give a lot of presentations. When there's no COVID around, I like to do that face-to-face with an audience who I can almost touch. But nowadays I give presentations digital, like this one in the webinar. So workshops and training, already said that, and I got a weak spot for privacy. What we will be discussing this afternoon with this webinar are some news items. Wibren and I, we looked at some well, news items that have something to do with digital signage, of course, and cybersecurity or security and privacy. We're going to talk about what hackers really are. What's a hacker? What do you think about a hacker? So what's a hacker basically? What does he do? And why is your information at risk as well? Of course, we're going to talk about securing your screen, securing digital signage. Wibren already said it before. I did some pen testing on their Magic Info environment, but we will be discussing also what pen testing actually is and why it is important, of course. So that's what we basically will be doing this afternoon. So security and privacy. So what are those things, by the way? What are they actually? Because we hear a lot of, well, news items discussing security, discussing privacy. There's a thin red line between security and privacy. But what are those items actually? Well, maybe we can illustrate those a little bit by the news items we found lately. Wieberen, I think this one was coming from you, right?
Yeah, true. It was actually a pretty, yeah, it's not funny for Essex at all, but I thought it was funny that people actually get it working from remote to take over outside facing screens and well, get other content on the screens than supposed to be. So I think it's something we have to be aware of every time we set up environments for customers.
So yeah, it's not well. I think what you see here is that some hacker or hacker group, or I don't know, maybe we're a few hackers who thought, well, it would be funny to stream some other content to the screens, right? And what you get is that you are well, you get the news, of course, but you see it's easy to do. Another item I found this week was the news from Clear Channel. Maybe you know the company. They are going to bring smart billboards or smart screens to Europe. It was a big thing. I saw it on some Dutch websites as well, discussing whether this was a good thing or not. Because, well, it were, well, so-called smart screens. What does this mean? Well, smart screen is the screen that you get in front of, and it reads your body language. It reads if you're a man or a woman. It reads your gender. It's going to check if you have a phone on you, which has, I don't know, Bluetooth enabled, and it's trying to get an image from you, so to see who you are and what you might be willing to buy or something, to stream ads and stuff to more personalized ads. And I'm not going to discuss the ethical part, if it's ethical or not, but I want to make you think, to let you think about the technological stuff around this, because it's great software, right? It's great software that you can read mind, or not read minds, but you can read body language, you can read your phone, you can read stuff, but if you have all that data and you're going to process this, and you're going to process this from a lot of people, you have a lot of personal data sitting in that screen or added to the cloud. So what happens if a hacker gets into that cloud or gets into the data? What happens then? Well, you have a big data breach, of course. So what happens then? So that's something that you need to think about. And with the coming of smart screens and stuff, and smart items, of course, the whole world has smart devices nowadays. You have to think about how you're going to use that information, how you're going to secure that information, of course. So we think there are, well, three main challenges that you have to face after a cyber hack or cyber attack, a hack attack. What happens then? Let me see, this is on this screen, of course. First of all, there's reputational damage. I think that's the one that's the most important. You can't really value reputational damage. You can't, well, not in the first few days. You can't say something like you have €1,000 or $1,000 reputational damage. Over the time you can, but not in the first few days or first few weeks. Then there's, of course, data theft. Your data is lost. You might have a data breach. So there's personal data, privacy data lost, or maybe there's data that there's data lost which is important to the company, such as I don't know, the prices of a what do you say it? the stuff you're trying to sell.
The confidentiality of certain documents.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's like really important stuff: reputation damage, data theft, and of course infringement with third parties. Because maybe you have a lot of customers that are logged into your accounts with passwords or with secret passcodes or something, and they get lost as well. And the hacker can use it to log into other websites or other services as well. So those three are, I think, the most important ones when it comes to the hackability or the problems that you have to face afterwards after a cyber attack. And if you think about cyber attacks, I think those three words come to mind: IT security or information technology security, information security, privacy, of course, and of course cybercrime. And if you combine those three, you probably think about the word hacker or hackers. You think about me. That's what I do. But what's a hacker actually? I know, what's a hacker actually? Well, if you Google the word hacker, and I just presume you never did that. Well, I did that for you. And you look at images of hackers, the image that you see on your screen right now, those are the images that you will find, or that Google will find for you. They're always like guys, most of the time, sitting in a dark room with a screen. Oh, let me get one on the big screen. This one, I like this one. It's a hacker with a ski mask on, right? So he can be recognized. He even wears gloves, so he doesn't get your fingerprints on the internet or something. But it's like the Hollywood hacker, right? It's like a Hollywood hacker that you see in really bad movies like this. If you got a hacker, they always do 3 keystrokes and they're in the Pentagon, or another keystroke and they're in the White House. Always in the last second, of course, because, well, it's Hollywood, so it has to be exciting. But it's not how hackers work. Hackers nowadays, they work as a profession. They are professional criminals, organized criminals. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, when you have hacker groups that make big money out of hacking your data, they are just working like a 9-to-5 office job, but instead of doing the good thing, they are hacking for the bad thing. So they're hacking for a bad cause. So yeah, hackers, cyber criminals, and internet crooks, they all steal your data, but why? I mean, why do they steal your data? One of the things I come across is this one. What do they want with my information? I have nothing to hide. I hear this all the time. Even big companies, people are telling me we got nothing to hide. We only have email addresses, or we have only, I don't know, information about a product that we need to sell. It's not even ours. So why do they want my? Why am I interesting for a hacker? Well, let me tell you this one. They all steal your data, and they're going to steal it because they can, out of boredom. A lot of people, kids, if they're not like the professional hackers, they're just going to steal it because they can, because it's possible. I know a lot of 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds who are sitting in their attics or in their mother's basement or something, and they just want to, they want to see what happens. They want to see what happens if they fire off some internet script they found on a website. And sometimes they can hack into a website or a database or something. The other bullet point, number 2, just to make a point, they can. You know, they find some database or they find some system that's not up to date, and they want to show you that they can get in. Same goes for the screens. If you have digital signage, and if you got some screens hanging in a shop or in a restaurant or something, in an hotel, and someone can get access to it, and he has a technical mind, he has a hacker mindset, he wants to know, he wants to see if he can stream other movies or other information to the screens, just to make a point. Maybe he's not making any financial gain, number 3, But just to be, well, the fun part. I think that's the one you just discussed in with the Essex example, right?
Yeah, just to look how far they can come and if they can actually take over something. And in the end, if you show pornography on screens which are facing outside, well, I may be that young, but I think it's pretty funny to do that. I don't think the actual company Essex is really happy with such kind of thing. But yeah, it's always to make a point, and I feel, and definitely the boredom, just to figure out, to play around, how far can you get inside the system, how far can we access magic info, what happens if you do this.
Well, and that's something I still like to do, just to see how far can I go, but of course in an ethical way. We always discuss non-disclosure agreements and stuff. I don't go hacking around just for the fun of it. Of course, it's fun. For me, it's fun, but you always have to think about the consequences before you can hack into some kind of system. But of course, well, financial gain. Financial gain. Hackers try to get information from all the data that they can get. So, for instance, if you can get into a system that, for instance, holds credit card numbers and you sell those credit cards online, you can get around 100, 150 euros, dollars, somewhere in between, for just one credit card. Just one credit card number, including, of course, the secret code on the back and the expiration date. Passport or IDs, if you have those in your database and you can steal them as well, you can sell those on the black market for around 200 euros. And competitor information, that's a nice one, I think, around for 50 bucks. So if you look at competitor information, for instance, if you do digital signage for, I don't know, for a supermarket or something, and you know what kind of products that they are going to sell next week for a lower price, and I can hack into that system and I can sell that information to the competitor supermarkets, well, your information is worthless, right? So that's really nice and really useful information for a hacker, where you can get information from. And it's easy to buy, actually. A lot of people don't understand the dark web. And I do understand that, because the dark web is always like a really spooky, weird place where you where you can't go to or something. It's not the real internet. Actually, if you want to go to the dark web, the only thing you have to do is download the Tor browser. It's just your ordinary browser with some additions made, so you can log into the dark website. And the thing is, when you go to the dark website, you can see something like this. This is a website on the dark web. It's not really spooky, right? It's just your ordinary eBay or marketplace or whatever. It's just,
or you can even buy some kind of yeah, how do you call it? Some cleaning machine, the Hoover Snuff Snorter.
The Hoover Snuff Snorter is my favorite machine. You know what to do with it? It's used to when you sell cocaine, you have a residue, and you don't want to spill the residue. I didn't know this. I learned this by doing this presentation.
In the practical side, or.
And you can just it's a little vacuum cleaner, so to say. But you can also buy, I don't know, you can buy what you can see, weapons, you can buy jewelry, you can buy everything you want, and it's all legal, of course. And well, I think the next question would be, how can you buy something online? How do you pay for it, for instance? Well, you can pay for it by so-called burner credit cards. You can buy those as well. You can just buy credit cards if you can. This is also in the dark web. You go on the dark web, you search for burner credit cards, and you can buy them in bulk. You even get a discount. It's really nice of them. So 20 cards, US cards for $1,400. It's almost cheap, right? And if you don't trust those, you can go to the PayPal Send, and they can give you stolen PayPal accounts. This really works. Don't ask me how I know this, but this really works. For instance, you see on your left-hand side, you see 1,700 $146 US. It's a personal account type. And if you go to the right, or price, you see that in the column or price, you see $185. So you spent $185 in, I don't know, Bitcoins or something, or stolen credit cards, and you gain $1,746 US in a PayPal account. It's really weird, but it's out there. And of course, I already said something about this, or I didn't say something about this, but about IDs and passports. Here you see they sell them for 0.15 Bitcoins or something. And according to the Bitcoin rate, that's the amount of dollars or euros that you're going to spend on it. And you actually get, by the way, you get an official document in the mail. It's like a really paper document. It's really weird. But you can get that information. So, well, yeah, security is key. So let's test by pen testing. So what is pen testing actually? Penetration testing, well, pen testing is short for penetration testing. Is ethical hacking. And ethical hacking means that you and me, we both know that I am going to hack you. We made an agreement on that. We signed some documents telling what I can or what I can't hack in your company, like systems or databases or websites. And it's basically testing a computer system, network, or a web application to find security vulnerabilities that an attacker could exploit so that he can gain access to, or maybe you could, I don't know, exploit a web server and get to the database, or maybe deface the website, whatever. So the main objective of penetration testing is to identify security weaknesses. And afterwards, it's up to the company who hires the pen tester to do something with the findings, of course, and to strengthen their security more. So who should have the pen test performed? Well, we discussed this as well, right? That sometimes, not just people who use Samsung. This has to be Samsung. I made a spelling error. Not Samsung or Magic Info. Now you have to think about yourself. It's your system. It's your installation, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because we see a lot of it in the market, and as I speak for Screencom from that side, that also when you talk to Samsung and you're you perform on our environment a pen test report, they were like, oh, can we get the report? We can use it in such kind of way, but a lot of people are not realizing that it's actually our environment is tested. And our environment is proven to be good or to be wrong, or there are some findings which need to be solved. But it's our environment, how we set it up, and it's not. Of course, we are launching Magic Info, but that's basically a Windows application. And okay, there are a lot of ways that you can maybe have a breach in Magic Info, but in the end, it's always on your network environment. So that's, in my opinion, it's actually I think more important than Magic Info as application itself.
Yeah, because you have the application, right? Magic Info, that's something that Samsung makes, but eventually you're going to install it or on your own environment. So I think you said it right. It's your environment. It's your responsibility to check how it performs, of course, but also how it performs security-wise. So if you look at the different pen test approaches that are out there, of course, there are more than just those three, but the three I will discuss here are the most popular, I guess. You've got your black box environment, your black box pen testing, your white box pen testing, and your gray box pen testing. It's almost a tongue twister. Black box pen testing means that I, as the pen tester, I'm going to pen test or hack your environment as a malicious hacker would do. So I only get the name of the environment, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That's just it. and I'm just going to search for, well, holes, vulnerabilities in that environment. And afterwards, you will get a pen test report stating which holes or which vulnerabilities I found and how far I got into the system. On the other side, there's the white box pen testing. I get all the information from the company who hires me. And the funny thing is that I get, because I got all the information, like passwords, usernames, I also can discuss with developers or with IT administrators what they want me to search for, to look for. So that's like I get all the information, and somewhere in between there's a gray box pen test approach, which means I get, well, most of the time just some information. Well, we have a screen, it's running on Magic Info, and most of the time I get 2, maybe 3 accounts with different sets of rights to see how far I can go into the system and to compare both of the to compare the accounts to see what the different accounts that there are. And I think this was the approach we did with Screencom, right? I think we did a gray box test, right?
Yes, that's correct. We delivered a well, for the most of the people here, quite commonly a 6 player. So it's one of the latest players from Samsung. We deliver it at your place and actually give you some credentials and well, let you play around.
And even a screen. I got this really huge screen in the back of my car.
Yeah.
It was really fun to do. So yeah, that's what I did. But before we can pen test, well, we know now we know what kind of approach that we can that we have, like a black box, a white box, or a gray box. We have to decide what kind of scope are we going to take? What are we going to test? Which parts should be tested? So are we going to test the back end? Are we going to test the front end? Are we going to test them both? Are we just going to focus on the screen or maybe on the users? So how far can I go, right? That's basically what we're going to do. That's what we're going to discuss in the NDA, the non-disclosure agreements. That's also the ethical part. If I cross those boundaries, I'm unethically hacking. So I'm the black hat hacker, so to say. I'm the bad guy. So I shouldn't cross that border. If I have an idea that something might be possible by crossing the border, I have to call, well, Screencom, of course. I have to get in contact with Ruben or Bastian. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to discuss the scope. Well, after that, sometimes we're going to see if there are some objectives, some goals, so to say, some things that we want to do. So the test is not successful until the pen tester has full control over the system. That could be an objective. If, for instance, this wasn't the case at Screencom, but if this was the case, it means that I only get the job done if I get in. In your case, in Screencom's case, we wanted to know what vulnerabilities actually are there. What can you do, right? That's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, especially for server application, just to see if you are able to get in without any credential. And once you are in, even if you have credentials up front, then of course, how safe is it? And are you, for instance, able to get to the highest account, the server admin, to do stuff?
Yeah, that's always a fun thing. We call it privilege escalation, and sometimes I try to get more rights so I can level up, so to say. I can become from a normal guest account to an admin account, which is always fun to do. So yeah, sometimes we just want to show if third-party software conflicts with the software written by the home organization, or maybe want to gain insight into how the application compares to other similar applications, just to, well, make a comparison of them. I said something about a report, right? There's always, we want to make a report. We want to show our clients what we found. And in that report, we always have findings. So the finding means the vulnerability. What did I find out? For instance, is it possible to brute force a login portal, for instance? So I just try to attack it over and over and over again, and eventually I find a password. That's what brute forcing means. So in the findings, I get a summary. I found this or that. I make a proof of concept, a replay, so you can replay it again, so you can actually find out how I did my work. Of course, an advice: you should do this or that. You should install an update, or you should program this or that. And of course, a rating. What happens if you don't do something with this finding? Something like high, medium, or low. Just the other way around: high, medium, or low. Something like that. And of course, reporting. In my reports, there's always a management summary. People in management layers have something they need to discuss this. Of course, the findings, already said, is high, medium, or low. A conclusion, a recommendation, and of course, all the raw material, such as the scans and the scripts I used. So that's basically my reports. And another thing I think is important is that the report is readable, it's understandable. Everybody has to know what happens. So the management summary does not include any technical parts. It's only in the findings. It's only important for the people who need to do something with the findings.
Yeah, and maybe also important, it's always good to, and that you can share this with your customer in the end, because they also want to have some proof of the pen test, and the management summary really helped us in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it's good to hear, and that's I think that's important to do. That you have something that you that it doesn't disappear just in a drawer. Thank you very much. Bye. Goodbye. No, you have to do something with it. So some examples, and I took those from the from your report. We already, I think you saw them in the presentation. Well, one of the findings was that the screen accepts all keyboards wired and wireless. So, for instance, I'm a bad hacker. I see a Magic Info screen, a Samsung screen, and I think, wow, that's cool. And I happen to have a keyboard with me. I just plug it in the device, and I can just, well, play around with the screen, which is actually cool, but not really, well, what I already stated. Although the probability is low, I don't think somebody will do that. But if you do, the impact is quite high, right? You can you can stream other information to the screen, for instance. So, and as an advice, in the service menu, it's possible to only allow certain keyboards or disable the entire USB port, right? Another finding is using the keyboard, a user can access the file system. Well, that's also something that's interesting, because you can't just play around with the screen. You can also get into the file system, and you can get information off the screen or off the server information, right? With a USB drive or something. And this one I think was really nice. This is really technical. What you see here is a request. It sends information from the web server, from the screen to the web server. And it said something about, I don't know where it is, in the blue part. I don't know if you can see my arrow, but I can highlight it here. By the way, all the other blue stuff, that's confidential information. Even this one, this blanks out passwords and the username. What happened over here was the password and the username were visible in the request. That's something that shouldn't happen. And another thing is that I think it was over here, the user ID was admin. That's interesting, because an admin is an administrator. What happens if, for instance, user ID was, I don't know, guest? What happens if I change it to admin? Do I become administrator? How does this happen? So I just play around with those bits and bytes and just see what happens. And I think it's the next slide, this one. Well, maybe you can explain this, Wiebe.
Yeah, I think because in the end, you delivered a report and also with your findings. And as I said earlier, also Samsung was very jumpy on getting this report, for instance, just that they can see what's going on. And some of the findings we've shared also with Samsung, because there are some elements which are, well, in the end were very critical. Also the previous slide you showed, that you actually can see the user ID and password in a decrypted way. That's, yeah, it's in the end that's always not fine, and of course you have to know what you do, but if you have a customer, for instance, who understands this and knows how he can work with this, they will also be very curious in how far they can go to access stuff they normally don't have access to. And well, the part that you showed, for instance, with the USB stick and also the keyboard, this is actually where you see that Samsung also reacted on these kind of things. So the part, these are screenshots of Magic Info 8 already, but the tested version was, I'm not sure, I thought 7.0 or maybe 6. But well, Samsung reacted on this and provided security locks like USB lock. So you can remotely lock your USB and don't give people access to the file system. If they have, for instance, access with a USB keyboard or with a keyboard or just a remote control. And then you have also the password policies, which are actually quite new in this Magic Info 8 release. There is now, you can force your users to update the password periodically. So then you always are sure that they don't keep the same password over and over again. And I'm not sure how you normally share credentials with your customers, but once you provided an environment, and especially if you are offering Magic Info as a SaaS solution, you create an organization and send them the credentials to access it. But what happens with this password? Are they keeping this password or are they changing this password? We've noticed on our environment that actually around 75% of all users don't change the password, even if we advise them to do. So I think this password policies as well is Samsung's way of showing that they are really working on these kind of stuff, and that they are eager to hear from us as GSA, as Magic Info users and providers, to get such kind of feature requests to provide them with more info also about security. Looking to the most recent projects we are running at the moment at ScreenCom, I think, well, right now with a customer in Italy, I think I've already sent 30, 40 emails over and to them, and they responded to me about all kinds of security stuff. And that's going way farther than only the pen test report, unfortunately, because I spent a lot of time already on this project. But it's funny to see, and it's also good to see that also your customers are more aware of the whole security part and more wanted to prevent such kind of breaches.
Which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, what should you do, right? I think you already said something about that. You should be aware, right? This is a fire drill or a fire alarm. You have to keep in mind that, well, security is not, well, a still thing. It's not a thing that's just, well, comes around and goes away. It doesn't work like that. You have to think about security. You have to think about, maybe you have to think about pen testing. Maybe you have to think about securing your devices, securing your screens, updating your processes, updating your privacy statements, for instance. And I know if it's not your core business, make sure you do it twice a year, just the same as with a fire drill, for instance. You test if the fire alarm still works twice a year. So try to do that as well with your security. Keep it up to date. Make sure that you do that. And you can do that just by checking up your car, like check up with your car, right? Make a list, check what you have, what you don't have. I can provide one if you want to, if you like. And you can just check off the boxes that you have, that you don't have. And it will discuss, for instance, what you already said, Wieben, password strength, or how long that you can keep your password, but also is your privacy statement still valid? Is your Wi-Fi network still is it not under attack? You can measure that. You can check that. So that's something that we want to give you, or that we want to. That you get. Sorry, that you will keep this in mind. So the takeaways for this webinar. Well, everybody in every company has something to hide. Well, maybe not just hiding, but you have some private information that you would like to keep for yourself, and that you don't want to lose, or that you don't want to show to your competitors. Always try to think 3 steps ahead. Make sure that you think about cybersecurity, about privacy, and what can happen if you don't do it. Be IT security aware, and of course, do a pen test. It really helps to make your systems more robust. I think we got 45 minutes, something around, for this webinar. I think we still have got time for Q&A, of course.
We do have until 5 o'clock.
Come on.
First of all, thank you so much for this elaborate presentation and giving us all these important insights. I think everybody is interested in such a checklist, so I can already tell you, please send it and I can forward it to the participants. And yes, I would like to open the floor to the attendees for questions. So please press the hand button on the lower part of your screen if you have a question. No questions. Maybe Bastiaan, maybe you can ask a question.
I have a question. If you look at, well, I understand what you've done within our company, Jochen. So I think it's a good thing. What if you look at, I think the biggest risk, especially the things you would not want to happen within your company, that you have content running on the displays other than the client wants. So of course, maybe the most easy and most practical way is just to get your remote control, your application Magic Info on a cell phone and go directly to the display, because you can also by screen mirroring set up a connection.
Yeah.
And what we see also with our customers, that they're not aware of those things. So in the Netherlands we have a saying, als de kalf verdronken is, dead met de put. I do not have any clue how this is pronounced in English, but
I understand it.
yeah. So I think it's good on a player level that everybody's also looks once in a while at all the settings in their on the displays who are connected to the Magic Info server. And also I think that Samsung constantly have to work on two-factor authentication for logging in your environments. And also what we say to customers who have cybersecurity very high in their profile is that they are aware of the fact that they have to put their displays in a private environment. So your whole digital signage, put it in a VPN, like a virtual private network. So if you're talking about Wi-Fi connections, if you talk about all kind of stuff, don't put it in the same network. And what we see constantly is that even with large customers, they find it quite a hassle to do so, and they are don't want to work with VPN connections. So, but on the other hand, they want it secure. So, do you have any? What do you think about that, Jochen? Is it what do we as system integrators or software providers have to say to our customers to think about security? Because on the other hand, you have to close everything down. That's the most safe environment. But in the other part is also there, if you secure it in that way that everything is so close, you can not even get to your applications anymore. There's a lot between those two things, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. It's really difficult.
Can you just give a glimpse or advice where we have to start thinking about what security is, which things are important?
I think it's
absolutely mandatory.
Well, I think it's important that the client understands what happens if they don't do it. So you have to make them aware that you tell them what happens if you don't use the closed environments, if you don't use, for instance, the VPN. Maybe there are other options, I don't know, or really good passwords or two-factor authentication or whatever. Maybe those can help as well. But you always have to tell them, well, okay, if you don't do it, it's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility, it's your responsibility. You are using the Magic Info environment, you're using the systems. So make sure that it's not on a, I don't know, public Wi-Fi network. I think you discussed this one with me, right? That maybe a client thinks, well, we go for the easiest solution. So there's a Wi-Fi.
We had the situation a few years ago, I think on a high school in the south of the Netherlands. Also there, the students were very excited about the new video wall they get in the canteen.
Yeah.
And then well, for instance, I had a company. It has nothing to do with Magic Info Server, but they have those solar collectors on the roof. You know those things. And there's that thing that you could just access the solar panels by their Wi-Fi, by their public Wi-Fi channel. It was really easy to do. So I can turn them on and off. Same goes, for instance, Magic Info in the systems. If they are on a wireless access point that's not secure, yeah, of course it works. It's a solution, but it's not a secure solution. It's not a secure solution at all. So you have to get them more aware by show them what will happen if they don't. So maybe the example Wiebren just discussed, just told us, is very interesting, I guess. And if you can show them what happens, maybe they will think about doing more security. Another thing is, but that's not the most friendly one, is the one where you say, okay, if you don't do it, we're not going to implement Magic Info on your system. This is our minimum list of security that we need in place before we can roll Magic Info out.
Thank you very much, Jochen, for your elaborate answer. I was just curious how our members have taken security measures or communicated the importance of this to their customers and business contacts. May I give Aubrey the floor as our new member of Handy AV from the UK. Aubrey, could you let us know how you have arranged the security policy within your company?
Right, hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Aubrey.
Sorry, I can't get my picture going, so what's my video?
Very secure.
Yep. Back on video. Any chance of speakers? Mic? No. No camera. Anyway, right, I'll explain. We actually work within a walled garden. So we actually run with VPNs to most of our client sites. So we protect within the network. So it's running a private network setup.
Okay.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Settings. So, you know, I've been in networking far too long to know about the issues. I've also advised on security issues with local law enforcement here in the UK. So yeah, that's how we do it. We build walls and yeah, make sure that people can't get through. But pen testing is always first and foremost, just to make sure. You know, that's about.
You are actually forcing your customers to use your VPN connection.
Yep.
To the environment.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
For complete security, but we do obviously have an alternative, so people can come in on a different IP address. So we separate our platforms. Okay. So we do have a private access service, but we also have a public access service.
Oh, very interesting to know. Thank you very much. And Loïc, how about you? Do you have any measures in place? Loïc, can you hear us? I'm not sure. So I'll check with the next one. How about Oliver? Oliver Schier, are you still listening?
Yeah, I'm still listening.
Very good. So what is your view on this? What security measures do you have in place in your company?
At the moment, the most cases we use are the normal security cases, means the locked USB ports, etc. But on network basis, we don't use, or we don't have big cases which are containing this network security things.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sebastian Höglund, could you comment on this?
Yeah, hi, sure. I can comment. Yeah, so we of course use the like secured connection, the SSL one. That's all the traffic is secured that we use to the screens. Then we usually put a PIN code on the screen as well to make it more difficult than for people by mistake or on purpose to access the screens in the store. Mm-hmm. And this is like the basic ones that we're doing. Then depending on the case, we evaluate the situation.
All right. Are there any specific questions that you have related to your company situation?
No, not at the moment, but I thought it was a very interesting presentation. So thank you, Jochen and Vibram, for this one.
Thanks.
It's
okay.
Good. A lot of good topics that you raised and that are good to keep in mind and think about.
Excellent, thank you. Any other of the attendees that wish to further elaborate on one of the topics or tell us how they are currently dealing with security challenges or needs?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Who is speaking?
What we do, Frank is speaking.
Hi, Frank. Yes, sure. I gave you the permission to talk.
What we are doing, we are setting up VLANs for the media network. So we separate the displays on the switch side from the normal network. And we give customers access to the Magic Info Server for special workstations that are allowed to access devices. So this is mostly what we do to separate those things, and we don't use wireless LAN, we just use LAN as topology. So, yeah, that's what we do. And I have a question to Jochen. Jochen, what do you think about the security of Magic Info? Do you think it's good enough out of the box, like plain text database passwords inside the config files? And what do you think about it? Did you have a closer look at it?
I had a look at Magic Info, I think it was 1.5 years ago, and I think that was version 6 or something, right, Ruben? Or what was it?
I think so. 6 or early 7.
Early 7. I can't remember actually, but well, let me explain before I go into depth. What you see is that Magic Info was built on top of an older version, on top of an older version, and so on. And you can see that it does the trick, right? Well, it's a pretty environment. It looks good. But sometimes it lacks a little bit of security. So, for instance, user IDs that you can change or passwords that are that were semi-open, those kind of things were the things that you could see. So, yes, it's. I have to choose my words carefully. No, I think there's still work to be done until we can say it's really secure. I think it's secure in a way that you can use it from day-to-day use, and it's still in a market where it's not like out there like I don't know, like a website or like a Windows operating system or something. It's really there just for those kind of screens. So it's only operated by people who use Magic Info. So if it's a system that you can just use on day-to-day basis, like everybody can use it, everybody can find it, I would say no, it's not secure as we want it to be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I thought it was really difficult how I explained it.
Oh, you actually also got a good point, because also I think we can all agree that if you look to Magic Info also from a functional perspective, you actually see it's always built on version, on several hotfixes and another version, and also on feature side as well. I think on that side you see exactly the same. And if you look now to Magic Info 8, I think it might be different. But then again, if you look to the amount of hotfixes as well, which Samsung already bring out in the first 3 weeks, I think it's already where the count is already on, only for server, I think on 3. And if you look to the authentication and all the other modules are actually the same. I think only one module isn't is bug-free or isn't properly tested right now. But for all the stuff Samsung already released, they all got new hotfixes.
Is any one of you guys using the cloud version in the UK from Samsung?
No, we don't. A ScreenCon.
Right, yeah. What, you mean the version 8 cloud service?
Yeah.
No, we haven't. We were all lined up to actually do it, but yeah, coronavirus. Okay.
Because a customer of our company, they think about it to switch over to the cloud service, and it would be interesting if it's more secure than the normal setup.
To be honest, I can't imagine, because we're all using the same installers. Maybe on server network and configuration, they are more advanced in how we set it up as a group. But in the end, we are using the same software.
Yeah.
I suppose it's more about the environment that it sits in as well. So obviously all of the software sits on a server. So it's about how private that network is that it sits on, what the configuration of the firewalls are, if they're compliant and not end of life. We've got the most recent security patches running on those machines. So if it's a Windows server, that they're constantly being provided the new security patches. So I think it comes down to a lot of the stuff with Magic Info and Data Link is probably more about the environment as much as it is about the software.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for all your feedback and input, and particularly Jochen and Wybren, great presentation, and I hope that we all learned some lessons on how to increase the security level. Some of you may want to go further into depth, so you all know how to find Jochen, who is really the expert, but also Wybren, who has learned from practice, which is particularly important to see how all this works in your own company. Tomorrow we will also have an informal meetup, the GSA third Thursday of the month meetup. So even then, if you plan to join, you may also want to further elaborate on this or any other items that are related to digital signage that you want to share, new projects that you're involved in, new challenges that you're facing, new products that you have just released. Just share this with your other members. And Jochen, it would be great if you could send me this this checklist. I think that would be really useful for those who want to double check how secure they are. And if there's no further questions, then I really would like to thank you for attending. And let's hopefully meet in an informal way tomorrow again.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank you.